1, 2, 3.
You're so...
1, 2, 3. Hello! Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
And weird, evidently. I'm Brad Blake.
I'm Toph Ferguson.
We're bad at board games, so you don't have to be. Today we're going to be talking about
Clank.
Clank. How old is this game?
This is a 6-year-old game.
Okay, so it's not on the hotness.
No.
Why would you be interested in this review 6 years later? What's so good about Clank, Toph? Why would what do they want to know about this?
I have been looking for this game for a while to add into my collection, but it's never been there quite enough to actually commit to it. Honestly, why would somebody want to add this to their collection? This is a game that has lasted 6 years. It is on the top 100 of BGG. We finally got it and played it, and I am hooked into this game. It's good. It's just a good game all the way around. Theme, play, everything. I might like the game. You might be getting that from my comments, but yeah.
Stick around to the end and you can find out what both of our ratings are for this and is it a good value. This is a game by Renegade Games and the designer is Paul Dennen. So it's, like I said, it's been out 6 years or so. It feels like it's got a million expansions. If you want to keep adjusting Clank, you can play any version of it you want in space, whatever.
Yeah, different reskins, themes, expansions,
all kinds of stuff. So, for those who don't know Clank, what is the theme?
Yes, so the base game, the standard Clank deck building adventure game, is a pressure luck dungeon crawler. So you are an adventurer, you are going down into the depths in search of treasure, and then trying to get back out of the dungeon in time so that you don't get stunned or run into the dragons that are coming to attack you and give you some hit points and kind of take some of your stuff away from you, your life away from you as you go throughout the game.
Yep. And then the appearance, it's a nice appearance. It's not like a stellar, awesome, in my opinion. It's fun. It's quirky. It's got some humor to it. Got quite a bit of humor to it. I think that's one of the reasons that you may like this game. It makes people laugh, and you get to kind of enjoy each other as well as the game as you're playing. But the appearance kind of pulls all that in. It's a little bit quirky. It's simplistic. It's got a nice cover. I wouldn't say the cover represents really what the cards are and such. It's a little bit more of that older, realistic drawings for the cards and such, and then kind of a basic board that you're looking at when you're playing.
Yeah, not quite cartoonish, but very much kind of a feel of illustrated,
quirky.
Yeah, quirky is a good word to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's a little bit deeper dive into the mechanics? I know you talked about it a bit, but
yeah.
What do people need to know?
Clank, at its best, is a deck builder. So that is the basic mechanic that you have in it, which you are collecting and curating a deck of cards that are going to allow you to take the rest of the actions that you have or collect things that will then allow you to take actions in the game. You also have a bag building component to it. You have a pool building component to it. So a little bit of resource management, a little bit of luck as you go through. It has game purchases that you can make as you go, so you are able to buy things, resource management, to be able to help you as you go throughout the game itself. It has end game bonuses. It does have player elimination, not something that I normally like in a game, but it is a little bit in this game. Somebody's going to be able to sit back if they are knocked unconscious and maybe not make actions, but still remain in the game itself until the end.
Right, depending on if you make it out of the dungeon or not.
Yeah, you may still be able to get points, but you're not going to be taking actions. So those are the big ones. End game bonuses. You've got things that you can pick up as you go through. But at its best, it's a deck builder, bag builder, pool builder game with pressure luck.
Cool. So our story, we've played this a few times now since we had it before we would review it, and they've been fun. I would say the first game I played, it was a 2-player, and I was like, this is okay. Then we played a 4-player, and then we played some 3 players, and we've got a playthrough if you want to click here to see that with Toph, Ashby, and myself. And the more I play it, the more I'm enjoying it. Yeah. Is really the best way that I can say, because it's almost like you don't care if you win. So that's pretty good. You're
good
more
for you, since you normally don't win games, but
Anyway.
I agree with that. Sorry, I cut you off.
No.
I agree with that. I think for me, sitting down and playing it for the first time, it hit exactly what I wanted it to hit.
Mm-hmm.
I had been hesitant to make the purchase, partially because it is a lower rated game, and
lower weighted.
Lower weighted. Sorry, lower weighted game.
Rated high.
It is rated high, but lower weighted game. And I, in my mind, had set that up to be something that didn't have enough going on in it for us to really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And so, and I try not to be that person that judges games based on weight, because there's some low weighted games that are fantastic that we love. But we have other games that have the deck building component to it. Would we actually enjoy this?
Right. It's
the theme I love. And we immediately, I think, all of us started enjoying it. And we all started pestering on each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. And this last game that we played, if you watch the playthrough, Ashby dove into the dungeon. Like, he just went straight for it.
I didn't know you go that fast down.
I don't either. I couldn't move. I had no movement. And so I'm like up in the top row, and literally Ashby's down underground getting like everything that he needs to win the game. And that in itself, we were able to kind of rag on him and rag on each other. Of course, Brad and I are all the way at the top. Like, what are we doing? We can't do anything in this game. And then it starts unfolding, and Ashby made it out. It triggered an end game component, and all of a sudden we're at this. What do we do? And you feel sometimes, I think, like you are an adventurer, kind of going through it. And we all, the game we played with our gaming group, that in itself was another one that we were all sitting there laughing through so many of the actions that we were taking and the different cards that we were getting and the bad luck that someone was getting whenever the dragon came out and attacked us.
Didn't matter how many cubes were in the bag. Mine kept getting pulled by somebody.
I promise I didn't cheat. It was bringing me so much enjoyment, though, every time I pulled out his cubes. And it's just, this is what we did. We just laughed like this the whole way through. And at the same time, it was such a well-designed game that we had enjoyment of the game and of the company. So it hit everything for me. I thoroughly enjoyed the game when we played it. So.
Cool. What's some positives? What do you think of positive, negatives?
Yeah.
We'll go with the positives first.
For me, especially when we talk about mechanics, I like clean mechanics. That's not to say I want them easy necessarily, but I like clean mechanics. I like to be able to know that the actions I'm taking are doing what I think they're going to take, that there's a challenge to them, but that, it's not this convoluted process. It's not fiddly. I don't mind fiddly games sometimes, but I just like classic games that play well and clean. This does that. This is a classic deck builder. I knew exactly what cards I was adding into my deck. Now, you don't know what's going to come out necessarily when you play, but you know what's in your deck. And that is something that I really like. I also like the fact that the board was playing against us. And I think it does that well with the dragons coming out and how the dragons come out to attack. So that's another good aspect. It's not just us playing each other, but it's also all of us playing against the board. That for me is a positive. And, the dragons, that's a great example of it. It is random, but the bag, I don't mind deck builders. I'm learning that, bag builders. I'm learning that bag builders are something that I'm enjoying in games. And I think it's a good positive with this game because it is such a random thing. Every time the dragon comes, you've got cubes in here. Some of them are the black cubes, the dragon cubes, and they do nothing against you. The others are the player cube, so it's in our colors. And if you pull that out, then that person is going to take damage. And it's random, and all of us sat in anticipation to know what was going to come out of this bag every time the dragon approached. It wasn't like, I'm the closest to the dragon, so I'm going to take the pain. It's, a dragon's in the dungeon, who's going to get hit? And in that first gameplay that we did, it was generally always Brad, which brought so much joy to my heart. But that is a positive. That's something that I think is done very well in this game. Yeah. So what about you? Positives, negatives?
I'm going to start with negatives.
Okay.
I don't think I like bag builders.
Did your heart get broken when the dragon came out? And I pulled your cubes?
So I like this game. Now I am finding I don't hate bag builders, but like I like Blitzkrieg. It's one of my top games. I like Caesar. It's one of my top games. They're bag builders. The thing I don't like about them, and it's kind of kept me from getting Orleans, is that you can continue to build the bag in a way that it should be a positive for you, right? And yet you keep pulling out the negative. Like, I don't mind dice, like that randomness and the statistics that are going on with that. But it's something about a bag. I always feel like I am always on the negative side of a bag, and I just can't get out of it, right? So it's not that I don't like bag builders, but if I can choose a game that doesn't have the bag or does, I may be going with like, let's play the, I may be trying to sway people to the non-bag builder side of it, but I liked this game.
Excluding the bag building.
Yeah, ish. It's not like I hated it. I don't hate it.
It's funny being a mathematician. My degree's in math. I love geometry more, but I do like the probability side of it. When you've got these games where you're curating something, we know exactly what's in this bag, because anytime you make noise, you're putting a cube into the area that's eventually going to be put in the bag to be drawn. You know the probability of what's getting drawn, but there's something about a bag builder that's different than a deck builder, because the deck builder, it's fate. You shuffle it, and it is fate.
Eventually,
whenever card is on
get
top.
the card you want.
Well, same with the bag. Technically, a bag builder, but the card is going to be there. It is this card, the top card that I'm drawing. Whereas in a bag builder, you reach in, and it's like, oh wait, I could do this one, or I could reach over and get this one, or this one, and it's almost like there's a lot more choice, even though there's not.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there is, which was kind of the fun of drawing out,
right?
As in pausing and being like, I'm going to pull red, 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 and then pulling something else, or red, just depends. I can see.
Yeah. So, but I will go over one of my positives. So I think they've laid the game board out very well. So there's no one path you can be like, oh, I'm just going to always go this way. Some paths you're going to have to take 1 or 2 wounds from monsters if you don't have swords. Some paths are locked, so you need a key, or you need to be able to teleport through it. When you get to the crystal caverns, it makes you stop. And then there's a couple cards that allow you not to, but there's just a couple cards in a pretty good sized deck that you might be able to add to your deck that could come out. So I like the fact that it's like, you may have somebody that just wants to race forward, but then they have done a very good job in balancing it, in my opinion, to stop that. So somebody just doesn't, in like 2 turns, get all the way down to the bottom, and then 2 turns are all the way back out. So I find that impressive on the balance of the game. I do like the fact that as everybody in the whole party starts collecting artifacts or finding dragon eggs, you're drawing more and more things out of the bag. So I like that tension or whatever. Powerful. Yeah, or whatever. It's like, oh, wait a minute, there's people here. I know something's going on. So I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, I don't think I really have many negatives for the game itself. It is not an overly complex game. It has a timer mechanic to it, where as soon as somebody is out of the dungeon, you only have a few moves left. You gotta get above ground.
Right.
And that, I don't want to say that's a negative. I think that's a good part of the game, but that adds just one more level of stress that, okay, I have this long strategy, and now I've got to switch to play a little bit different. And that's a good thing. That's part of the game. I don't think that's a negative necessarily, but it's definitely something that shocked me. I wasn't ready for that when we played until we got to that part of the game.
Yeah, Ashby really threw a kicker in there this last time.
He did. It was awesome.
That created a different game, just the way he played.
Yes,
for everybody.
Watch the playthrough of it, because it is just, when we got towards that part of it, Ashby was out of the dungeon. You were above ground, about to be out of the dungeon. I was below ground, which if you're below ground, you don't get to count your points. You got to get above ground to count those points. You don't have to get out necessarily, but you got to be above ground. And I was like, what do I do? I don't know how many points they had. I knew I had to get out because you both would have the 20-point advantage. I needed to get that extra 20-point advantage. But there were some good things down here that I could get. Do I press my luck? Do I stay? And I'm glad I didn't. But I thought about it. I mean, it was okay, I got to weigh this. Am I going to do it? Yes, no. Oh, I don't think it would have been worth it. I don't think it would have been worth it. But I think the challenge and the deliberation of pressing your luck made the ending of this game really fun, really enjoyable.
If you don't like playthroughs, you just want to see what happened at the end of that, go click up here and then, skirt all the way to the end. I'll make sure I have at least one timestamp in there where it says here's scoring.
He's probably going to add timestamps like Toph messed up. Toph tried to do something. He couldn't do it.
It's hard to timestamp like a 1 hour game or 45-minute game. So hopefully you just enjoy watching the playthrough. Alrighty, that is our positives and negatives. What's the game weight? Where do you put this?
Yep, I would likely put this somewhere around 2.25. I don't think it's 2.5, but I don't know. It might be a little bit lower. I might put it closer to a 2 myself. Now BGG puts it at 2.2. So, take it for what it is. I think that is a pretty accurate rating. I think there's not a lot of complexity that's going to push it much higher than 2, in my opinion. It's a solid game, but I think the weight rating should be more like a 2 as opposed to a 2.2.
I'll call it a solid medium game. Past intro, but in that nice next level. I don't have a whole lot to say about other than beyond that. It's just, you're in that range.
I would say medium light. This is one of those things that is a good game to get somebody who doesn't know deck builders into deck building. Probably better than some other of the standard deck builders that are out there, Star Realm, and some of the other ones. This one it's a fun game as well. So there's a storyline behind it that makes sense and plays well. But I don't see it being overly complex. Like I feel like I could play this with gamers or with somebody who's never played, tabletop gaming hobby games. So what about the value of the game?
I think it's got a great value. This is another one that's around $40, and so it's a 4-player game. I don't know if the expansions allow you to go to 5 players. I wish it were. Like if this was a $40 game with 5 players, it kind of gets you. There's a lot of 4-player games, but when you have that 5th person show up, you now can't pull this one out. So like Space Base does. We've talked about The Hunger in the past. Like there's other games that at least let you get in that middleweight range with 5 people, and that can be such a great thing at a game when you're bringing people into the hobby. Right? Yes,
if you've got a family that needs 5 players, if you've got a gaming group, those are things that we consider. And that's
my only negative. So value, if a 5 is like amazing and a 1 is like horrible for the value, right? This is like a 4 to a 4.5. Only because it would be a 5, I think, if you could add that extra player or 2 players even. But it's a good game for $40 for 4 players. It's a good game.
You get a lot of cards in the box, and the cards have pretty good artwork on it, so that's a good thing. The chits, it's your standard cardboard, punch outs, but still, there's a lot of them that's in the game. You've got the bag with cubes. There's a lot of things that's in that box.
It's not cheap and chintzy.
No, it's not at all. I think for that value, that is definitely worth the $40. Yeah, it's well worth it.
Yep. So I'm going to rate this on the BGG list, rubric from 1 to 10. I'm going to say this is, for me, it's like a 7.5 to an 8. Now, if I have to pick one, right? I think I said this at the beginning. I'm enjoying this game more. If the very first game, I would have said this is a 7. I might have even said it's a 6. The first game I played. So I don't know if that's because it's a 2-player account or if it was I wasn't in the mood to play or I was having, it was that whole learning something new kind of thing. But I'll probably have to say it's an 8 because every time I keep playing it, I'm enjoying it more. Right. So I would say this is an 8 for me.
Yeah. I'm right there with that. It's a solid 8. No questions asked. I think it checks the boxes that I wanted it to check. It's something that I have enjoyed the playthroughs. I've enjoyed the company that I've had while we've been playing it. So obviously the people you play with can influence the games and how you rate them, but it's exactly what I want. I love the fantasy theme. I like the idea of it's a dungeon crawl, but it doesn't feel like, we're having to go out and play D&D, it's not overly complex like some of the other games that are dungeon crawlers that I've got. This is just a fun, cutesy little dungeon crawler with a good little mechanic to it. So yeah, solid 8 for me.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We enjoyed doing it. We enjoy playing the games and then talking about them with you guys. So we are 11,000. I wish 1,152 subscribers today. So if there's anything you can do to help us out and let people know we exist, that'd be really cool. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know if you have not only played this Clank, but have you played some of the other editions of it? Have you played Clank in Space? I've heard that is great. I would rather go fantasy. He probably would rather go the space theme. What do you think? Do you enjoy that? Have you played them and compared them, between Clank and Space? This Clank Legacy, is that something that you like? Any of the other editions? Comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on this classic deck builder game.
Absolutely. Because there's a lot of Clank. It'd be interesting. Do any of you have like all of it? That would let us know. I love Clank.
Yes. Speaking of a lot of Clank, I'm clumsy, so I produced a lot of Clank.
You did produce a lot of Clank, but you still pulled my bag. Mine
I did.
out.
I did quite a bit.
My bag out.
That's not for this channel. That's never going to happen. No.
Thank you very much. I hope you have a great night. Talk to you later.
Bye.